Hello, and welcome to another live coaching. We're live. I'm on Maui, and I want to know, did you sail this week? Did you sail? How is it going? Where are you? Where in the world? What are you up to? That's what I want to know. I sailed. I had 2 days this week. I'm back on Maui, and there wasn't wind the first week I was here, and now we had 2 days. I had one really offshore, kind of small day at Hokipa, and then a uh, kind of big onshore day yesterday. It was a little bit funky, but I had a lot of fun. I had really a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. We're just getting set up here. I'm going to post in the group and get going. I want to see if I can change my resolution here. Maybe that's a time for another stream. All right, let's get the Facebook group up and jump into the coaching. I want to hear what you've been up to, if you've been on the water, how it's all going, as well as plans for next year. We're going to do a Zoom in January, and I've got to come up with the details, and I'll post that in the Facebook group. So look out for that, where we'll talk about planning the year and all of that great stuff. All right, here, I'm just going to grab the link for this, post it in the Facebook group, and then we're off to the races. All right. All right, we got Matt in the chat. He says, no sailing, although the new year is looking good. Awesome. I love to hear it. Okay, if you're joining us, let us know where you are. Is it windy? Have you been on the water? How's it going? All right, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to get the Facebook group loaded up. Here we are. Let's make it a little bit bigger, switch this around. I'm still getting used to this new streaming software, so figuring it out, what works best. Something probably like what's best, guys? Something like this, maybe. What do you guys think is best? How can you learn best? How can you see what we're dealing with best? Let's go like that. I like that. All right, we got Axel in the chat. It says no sailing, just getting fat over Christmas. I know the feeling. We got Ragnar as well. It says too much food. Seems like the general theme. Harold says no sailing in the Netherlands, some winter hibernation, and watching windsurfing videos to stay stoked. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. That's a good way to stay stoked. All right, I'm going to jump into the group here, and yeah, we're just going to start going through all the questions. We got a lot of people showing up in the chat. We got Jorg, one session this week. Awesome. You're doing better than a lot of the other guys in the chat. We got Samuli. So Samuli, you're traveling. You're going to, where is it? Is it Cape Town or Capo Verde? Where are you off to? And we've got Leo as well. Moin moin. Awesome. Hope everyone had a good holiday. All right, so we've got a first post. Let's go sort this by new posts. All right. So questions. First up, Suna says he's driving home from his last session in Klitmuller this year, so he won't make the live stream, but he wishes everyone a happy new year. Awesome. Suna is a Windsurfing Masterclass alumni. He's done, how many has he done now? 3 or 4 of the in-person master classes. And what is very cool about his approach, and it's something that we can talk about in the planning, is that he's set some different goals for himself. I think, if I remember correctly, one of the goals was windsurfing every month of the year. And so at least one day out of every month. And that's easy in months like September, where in Denmark you get a lot of good conditions. But then in months like January or February, maybe it's cold, maybe it's tricky. And so then he really seeks out getting those days. And so he did that. That was his goal. I think it was for last year. And yeah, it was a really interesting goal. And we'll talk about more stuff like this in the planning session that we'll do in January, because I think it's really interesting setting little challenges like this for yourself that are fun and yeah, spice up your windsurfing life, get you trying new things, doing new things. Uh, like with that challenge, like windsurfing at least one day every month. Maybe your home spot doesn't work in June, and so you've got to drive somewhere, go somewhere new, and having that challenge is, I think, really exciting. We got Mike in Cornwall. Samuli is going to Cape Town. We got Mateo. Ciao, ciao. All right. So Samuli asked if I have a link for the live coaching. You found us. In general, I think it's the same link every time. I think YouTube. That's actually a good question. Is it the same link every time? Maybe it's not. You can go to my YouTube page, and there you'll see when I'm live, and I go live at this time. Maybe there's a better way to do this. Maybe I can schedule them, and that's maybe clearer when they start. Samuli's off to Cape Town. What's my take on the forecast? What are the good wind directions for Whitsands? Misty Cliff next door sounds interesting, but the cliffs themselves do not sound inviting. I love Misty Cliffs. I think Misty Cliffs is one of my favorite places to windsurf. It's so much fun, but it can be a little tricky. It can definitely be a little tricky with the cliffs and a lot of other things going on there. But it's fun. It's fun. All right, I'm gonna load up. Let's load up a forecast and see what it looks like. So, why does this not work? Winguru is unsafe. Let's go to Winguru anyway. We got Christoph in Santa Cruz. Hello, giant waves but no wind. All right, so this is the forecast for Maui, and looks pretty solid for the next few days, and then the wind disappears. We have some giant waves coming. So even though it only says 1.6 or 1.9 meters, if it's 20 seconds period, these are going to be huge waves, jaws waves. And then the wind goes southerly, goes all over the place. So I'm looking at today, tomorrow, the next day, the day after, and the day after with good windsurfing wind, and then it starts to get funky. All right, let's check Cape Town. So this is what I would do. If I was going to Cape Town, I would check Whitsands. We got Tomas in the chat. Hello and happy holidays. So I would check Whitsands. And so Samuli, are you already in Cape Town or are you going there? That will help inform how we discuss this. I will talk about how I would look at the forecast just in general. And so basically, I would check somewhere in the north, somewhere in the south. And the other thing that I do for Cape Town, because Cape Town is tricky, is I lean on locals or veterans to figure out where they think is going to work best. Because if the wind is a little bit more southerly or a little bit more easterly or a little bit whatever, it's going to work differently in different places. And there's going to be some spots that are better than others. Also, my personal approach is it really depends on where you're staying and how much you're willing to drive. And I like to stay in the south, and I don't like to drive too much to the north. So I just write off some of those sessions, like some of the Milk Boss sessions, some of the Hackett sessions. I'm just not even making an effort to go there because my windsurfing bubble is shifted more to the south. A lot of people do the opposite and they stay in Table View or somewhere around there, and then their bubbles shifted more to the north, and they are getting a lot of the Milk Box days, a lot of the days on that side of Cape Town, but they're not driving for all of the Witsand sessions. And so I like to do the opposite of that, but both are very viable. And some people will just drive everywhere. I can't handle that. I can't handle driving 4 hours every day. That's too much for me. But some people, it's not a problem. And if that's you, great. And then you've got to be aware of all the different spots. But so what I would do is I would check something like Witsands again. I like to stay in the south, so I'm going to check Witsands first. All right, we've got these northerly winds. So northwest winds. This could be pretty good in Witsands, I believe. I'm always a bit, when I haven't been to the spot in a while, a little confused with everything, but I'm pretty sure this is good for Witsands. And then we get more the southeastern normal direction. And this, yeah, this doesn't look great for Witsands. If we check Sunset, which I would probably say is the most consistent beach for wind and waves, we want to see the sort of southeaster. So maybe something on Monday, but these days it's not really the right direction. If we look at, so then we could see like somewhere more in the north, like Paternoster, what's going on. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is too much west. So this is an example where the forecast is a little spotty, a little bit different than normal. Leaning on locals is going to be really, really valuable. So find some locals or veterans who really know the spots well and lean on them and be like, okay, where would you go tomorrow? The other thing is it's not very helpful to look too far in advance. So the third, even the third, the day you arrive, is kind of too far away to have a reliable forecast. You can look 1-2 days ahead, 3 days ahead maybe, um, but really we're looking 1-2 days ahead. It's not so reliable. It changes a lot. So let's see what Plat Boom forecast looks like. And then the other tool, I'm going to show one more tool, and then we're going to move on to a different question. This could be good in Plat Boom too. Plat Boom works well on the north winds. So the other thing you can do is you go to Windy, and let's go Cape Town. And then, okay, so here's Cape Town. And we can go with this wide view and look at what's happening on the whole coast. I think you can do this kind of view with Wind Guru as well. I'm just used to doing it with Windy. I'm sure there's better ways to use these tools than I am using them, but how I use them works for me. And I like this visualization with Windy. And I believe you can do it with Wind Guru as well, which we could explore in a second. But so here we can see what's going on the whole coast. It gives us a bit of an overview. And again, for the more advanced forecast, you need the premium version, but it's not accurate anyway. So it's not going to help you. But this gives you a really good overview of where the wind is and what's going on. But there are a lot of local effects. So it is really important to have someone that you trust and asking them what they think. So there is a way to get a similar view like I just showed with Windy. I'm not sure how to get it. Does someone know how to get it? There is a way to do that view. How do we do it? You have map view. Is that what it is? All right. See, I'm not great at going into these other things. Something that is interesting while we all on, just click the forecast fields. Click on maps. Forecast. Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay, interesting. So this is Winguru's version of the windy style view. Interesting. Yeah, this works. This works fine. Interesting. So just one last thing about Winguru forecasts, and then we can move on. A lot of people ask, like, what are all these different forecasts? And they're different models, and different models have different predictions. So you've got the GFS, GFS wave, you've got, the WRF, the Zephyr, like all of these different forecast models, and they're going to have different forecasts based on what they predict. And you want to see, ideally, some agreement in the models. If there's a lot of disagreement, it's a sign that the forecast is maybe unreliable. Something that I find very useful, because Winguru is pretty bad at forecasting swell, is looking at the GFS wave forecast. And this is just swell. And so you can see the different swells. That's what each line is. So like this is um, the first. So they'll show you like two different swell. Um, two different swell. There should be two different swells in here, I believe. So we got the waves and the swell. I believe this is like the secondary swell. But this can be really useful. And then you've got the wind waves. This can be really useful for looking at what the surf is doing, because oftentimes in this Winguru view, they don't do a great job of predicting this well. Some places it's fine. All right, let's move on. All right, time for wins. What were your wins this month? So Dom, let's go. All comments. Christian says, getting back his self-confidence, sailing out through the shore break after some bad sessions. Yeah, I love these little wins, and it might not feel little. Something like getting out through the shore break or getting out through the waves can definitely be a win. Can definitely be a win. By the way, Leo says he's going to be sailing in Vik on Tuesday. Vik and Sea. Is anyone else going there on Tuesday? All right. Nicholas says he's going to go in to Pozo in the summer. Rickard says he broke his mast just outside the beach so he didn't have to swim in the cold water over the bay. Ouch. Yao says, let's see, a translation of this. The body position in the bottom turn. Cool. That's a great thing to figure out. Robert says he's feeling strong after his surgery. Samuli is going to Cape Town. That's a huge win. Yeah. All right. Dom got a video of a back loop. Cool. This looks like a good one. And this comes from the corrupted files. Let's watch this full screen. Oops. Disappeared. Back. All right, let's try that again. Enter full screen. Doesn't like it for some reason. Sorry, Dom. We're going to have to watch it on the screen. You've got to go into the Facebook group that is Ezzy Coaching on Facebook, or if you search Graham Ezzy's Windsurf Coaching Community. Awesome. I love this back loop. Very clean. Drew says his biggest port tech forward at Coronation. Cool. All right, and he wants to get a more horizontal rotation. All right, we've even got a video of it. Awesome. Ooh. All right, let's see here. So going up. Can you guys see this? I worry it's a little bit small, but I can't make these full screen for some reason. I don't know why. I'm getting a little bit of tabletop action there. I like it. I think it looks super stylish. You are going a little bit tabletop, kicking the board out and a little bit over the front rather than sideways. If you want to change the rotation, but I like this rotation. I think this rotation looks cool. If you want to change the rotation, you want to make sure that the mass is going more into the wind, and that instead of leaning with your body forward and you're falling over your nose, you're falling over your back shoulder, your rear shoulder. And so then you're getting in the position and then you're falling over the back shoulder instead of falling forward into the move. So that conceptual difference will make a big difference in how horizontal it is. So instead of going forward like that, you're falling around your back shoulder. All right, Samuli, we already talked about this. Robert, Rickard, we already talked about. York had the last session for the year. 91 sessions in total. So if you're in the chat, do you count your sessions? If so, how many sessions do you get in a year? I don't count my sessions. I don't. Maybe I should start though. Do you count your sessions? Christian says getting back his self-confidence. Oh yeah, we already talked about that one. Awesome. All right, let's move on. So we've got Kevin asking, he's new to this group. He joined because he's looking for tips to improve his windsurfing. He's from New Zealand and he went to Maui for a windsurfing holiday. He was in intermediate at Kanaha, and his brother kept getting catapulted. And a guy walked down the beach coaching his daughter and said, "You need more downhaul." To which his brother said, "You know a bit about it, do you?" He came in from sailing and had seen them talking and asked what he said. And he told me the story. And he said, "Do you know who that is?" And he said, "No." And it was David Ezzy, the guy who designed the sail. That's funny. Yeah, sounds like my dad. Cool. Yeah, there's a lot of advice floating around if you know where to find it. And welcome to the group. Love the story. Sounds like my dad. Welcome to the group. All right, Ola is going to Cape Verde. Awesome. Henrik is also going. Yeah, Cape Verde, we've talked about it a lot. It's one of those really special places, but also complicated, a little bit more complicated than other spots. The sailing is more difficult, but boy, is it amazing. If you get to the level where you can sail Ponta Preta, whew, that is a life changer. That is a life changer. I would say Maui is the best windsurfing in the world because it's so consistent and so consistently good. But Cabo Verde, for pure clean wave riding, gets better. It's just not as consistent and you don't have as much variety. Uh, so Cabo Verde, amazing. We got Balfen from in Norway. We've got Christoph saying 55 sessions this year. Awesome. Yeah, I'm still curious. I want to know, do you count your sessions? It's not a Hawaiian thing to count sessions, which not for any good reason. I don't know, maybe because it is pretty consistent here. And so when I started traveling in Europe and people were counting their sessions, I found it really interesting. I didn't start. I kind of wish I had, and I had more of a logbook. But I want to hear from you. Do you count your sessions? Do you count your sessions? And I've got another question as well for everyone in the chat. So first question is, do you count your sessions? Second is, what is a windsurfing identity that you have aspired to or still do aspire to? I find this really interesting. And so different identities could be even just being a windsurfer is an identity. Being a looper is an identity. Being a Hokeeper rider is an identity. There's all these different identities and sub-identities in windsurfing that we, and some of them we aspire to, and I'm really curious what those are. I'm going to do a post in the Facebook group as well, but if you have an answer to this now, put it in the chat. All right, we've got a post from Mateo. Chris, Merry Christmas, and he's got some drone footage. All right, so he wants to improve the bottom turn where he lost control of his board. Fortunately, he saved the turn, just bought a bigger board, and he changed from a quad to a thruster, and it's happening a lot with the new thruster. Maybe he needs more experimentation with the fins, definitely. It can take a lot of work to get a board set up. G. Luke counting his sessions on Strava. Okay, I've had a discussion, and now I've got a lot on my plate. So am I gonna do this? Maybe, maybe not. I think I will, though. I think I will. Just the timing, I'm not sure about. Is a dedicated windsurf tracking app. I was talking to an engineer last night about it. It was a casual dinner, but it's a software engineer, and I was like, okay, what do I need to get this going? Because so many windsurfers I talk to who want to track end up using whatever, Strava or Excel, and having a simple, really simple, dedicated app is maybe useful. So if you would use it, let me know, and that will make push it up on my priority list. But I think that would be really interesting as a dedicated windsurf tracking app. Things like the location, which could be auto populated, and then you've got your put in your sail size, your wind strength. Even that could be auto populated. It could pull from WinGuru. Um, so yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think it's really interesting. But maybe you guys are happy with Strava and Excel. I'm not sure. Semele says he writes a note of all his sessions, including successes and points of development. Yeah, I think this is such an interesting discussion. In the last master classes, we did discuss this, and I was really fascinated with uh, how different people track. Ragnar says he records a lot, so he has a folder and a drive. Um, how do you count a morning and afternoon? Is that 2 sessions? Yeah, good question. What do people do? York says he counts his session with data. He's got his board, sale size, and what he did. Yeah, it's great. Quinton says, do I have advice for renting in Cabo Verde? The issue with renting gear in Cabo Verde is the spots like Punta Preta or in the north, like Alibaba, destroy gear. And so a lot of the places that rent won't let you take the gear there, or maybe they will if you make a deal with them. But otherwise, they're renting for sailing in Santa Maria, which is beach. I know the Anguilla, so be my main go-to. I know John. Otherwise, there's a duotone center, and so I would go, I guess, to one of those two centers. I think there's as well. Uh, I know Josh. I stayed in his hotel for the last time I was there, and the center looked really good. I had breakfast there every day. The food was good. So my first vote would be the Angulo Center. Tell them that I recommended it. Maybe they'll give you special treatment. Um, they might not, but they might. Doesn't hurt to say. Christoph says he uses Excel, and Simile says he has a paper and pen conventional notebook. Axel uses iCal. Yeah. And then Harold, yeah, we talked about this on the masterclass, uses a speed windsurfing software. And then, yeah, interesting. If you have an Apple Watch, it can automatically track. All right, so let's watch this video. And I love the drone footage. Beautiful footage. Beautiful sailing, beautiful footage. Whoa. Where is this? This is amazing. Is this I'm not used to this angle. Is this Kapumanu, but from a different angle? Wow, looks amazing. Okay, so we're trying to analyze the bottom turns here. One challenge is the wave is fading away. So that second turn, the wave didn't have a lot of power pushing back. Here you have a good wall, and then it starts to disappear. that first turn is nice. You could go a little bit later. You could wait a little bit longer and the wave would be standing up more. I'm going to go back to your question. So, question is on the second bottom turn, he lost control of the board, but he saved it. All right, let's look at it from this angle. Hmm. For some reason, some of these videos don't want to go full screen. So to me, the bottom turn does not look bad. It doesn't look like you lost it. You could go with a wider grip on this first bottom turn. Oh, just as I said that, you do. So great. I would like to see you come a little bit more vertical or wait a little bit longer to get the wave standing up more. Because what's really important when we're choosing where we are riding in a wave is that there's enough power pushing back to enable dynamic turns. And it's just a hair early on this one, and then on the second turn, there's not a lot of power pushing back. This first turn looks really nice. I like this. Again, it could be a little later or a little bit more vertical. So how would you go more vertical? Going later is easier. You just go a little later. Going more vertical, what you'd want to do is you're aiming for here rather than for over here. And how do you get there? The trick to getting there is moving that sail across your body. And that will help you scoot the last few degrees of the turn. All right, let's watch from the drone footage and see if we can see something else about that second turn. So this is a nice arc. Again, you could go later or a little bit more vertical and you'd have more power pushing against you. See how there's more power in this part of the wave. And then also if we wait another second, then there's a really nice little pocket right here that you could also turn in. That would have more power pushing against you. So here, all right, there's the balance in the bottom turn that you do manage to save. A big issue with this is that the wave is losing its power. So you see the wave is disappearing. So it's going from having a little bit of a bump to nothing in a matter of seconds. So it's difficult to ride in that section. And then it looks like as well that you hit a chop. Is you hitting a chop here? There's some ribs going down the face of the wave. Yeah, see here, there's a rib in the wave. You can see here, there's even a little bit of whitewater cross wave. And so you're hitting that, which I believe is causing the board to bounce. What can we do to avoid that? One thing is having more bend in the knees. The more bend you have in the knees, the more you can absorb. Um, and then also making sure that you're more bent at the waist. So right now you have bend in the knees and you're pushing on the board, you're getting over the center line, all of that's good, but you're quite upright at the waist. So I'd like to see you bending more at the waist, like trying to touch the nose to the water. And if you are going to try and get a second turn here, you want to be coming up to this section because there's no power in the wave here. There's no power. So what you can do is when you finish this turn, instead of coming straight in, what you want to do is complete that turn really dramatically so that you're cutting back all the way to the whitewater. And so you end up in this whitewater here. So then instead of being in this position, you're here. So you cut all the way back to the whitewater and then you drop in and then you're able to do the turn. If you come on the whitewater, you're doing the turn like 3 meters farther back, which would put you doing the turn here, just behind your sail, where there still is some power in the wave, but where you are, there is not. But there is still power in the wave here. So I would say that I would worry less about the technique, though you could bend more at the waist. Like bending more at the waist will help the technique. But a big thing is the placement. And so you could go a little bit later on that first turn, but then also go a lot more upwind on the second turn. And to do that, it's not that hard. You just really aggressively focus on cutting this cut back all the way back. So you're coming all the way to the whitewater. And then when you go into the turn, you're going to have a power source to turn into. So yeah, so that is Kapumanu. Looks amazing. Ragnar says he wants to go there too. Me too. So Mateo says he felt like he had less grip on the quad board. Send us a photo of your fin setup. So send a photo of the fins from the side of the board so we can see where the fins are in relation to each other and also where they are in relation to the foot strap and to the tail. And maybe I can give you some tips for how to set it up. And then, yeah, getting bent to the waves, but also the placement. The placement is going to make a big difference. If you're in the right place on the wave, all of these things feel way easier. And so going a little bit later for that first turn or more vertical, that's going to help. But then this is the big one. It's really cutting back to the whitewater so that when you're dropping in, you still have some power source in front of you. Because on that one, the wave is disappearing as you're trying to do your turn. All right, let's get back to the group. I hope that makes sense. Tavi posted this. I love it. That is an awesome. Go for it. High five. This is a great example of the high five, getting under the lip. Boom. High five. Awesome. All right. Andre has some sales for Christmas. Eric is introducing himself. Welcome to the group. Are you working on Shovets? All right. So I love this question. This is such an interesting question. Alexander says, will a back loop further into the wind make you more likely to rotate? Yeah, super, super interesting. I think it's actually the opposite. Now, if you're carving off the ramp and you're going more up into the wind and you're like, as you're going off the ramp, you're going more and more and more upwind, then yes, that can cause you to over rotate. But in terms of having a straight line off the ramp, you can go way up into the wind and that will actually help. And a lot of times people go too downwind and that ends up making them over rotate. Now you're thinking, how is that the case? But what is happening is because you're not sailing up into the eye of the wind, and then it's really easy to rotate, you have to use your body to force everything to rotate. And then it's a very forceful push into the rotation, and then that causes the over rotation. When in fact, the back loop, it doesn't even feel like a rotation. It feels like you're going up and coming down. There's very little force. It's the force of a feather. A back loop is almost no force at all. You're sailing up into the eye of the wind and you're falling down the other way. It doesn't feel like a loop. It doesn't feel like a rotation. It's not like a push loop or a forward where there is this rotation and the rotational energy. You're just going up and you're coming down the other way. So you don't want to have to push it. You want to get up, sail up super, super, super upwind into the eye of the wind and then just fall down the other way. And if you're having to push it, then that can introduce more force into the rotation. It can make you over rotate. And that can happen if you go not upwind enough. Love it. It's a very interesting question. Cool. Just like that, we are caught up. So I want to know two things. A lot of you guys already answered whether you track your sessions. I'm going to do a post in the Facebook group. So that's something I want to know. But the second thing, and I'll also do a post in the Facebook group for this, is what are some aspirational identities in windsurfing that you've aspired to? And so they could be things like looper. They could be things like speed sailor as an identity. It could be something like, a windsurfer at a certain spot, someone who goes out at Gwythian or whatever it is. I'm really interested in what these identities are that you've aspired to or that you look up to. And so, what are some of the aspirational windsurfing identities? I'm going to do a post right now and you can answer it on the Facebook group. With that, we are caught up. I wish you guys all a wonderful New Year's. I hope you are going to have a good week. And then we will see each other in 2025. I'll be back next week, Sunday, and then we'll plan the Zoom. I've got to figure out what date works for me. I'll probably do it around this time. I think that works for most people, and it will probably be around on a Friday or Saturday, probably a Friday. And it'll be on Zoom, but all the information will be in the Facebook group if you want to join.